Welcome to Project Metal Music! Join the fun! Chat with the bands! Ask them questions, chill out and relax!
Hey guys, welcome to Project Metal Music's YouTube channel with the host Young, and we are here with Kai from the Ineffectuals. So welcome, Kai. So Kai, introduce yourself and what you do.
Sure. Hi, Al. It's good to meet you, and super excited to be on Project Metal Music channel. I spent some time checking out your channel, and it's just extremely cool that you do what you do here. I mean, clearly you have a deep appreciation for this kind of music. Very cool.
Yeah.
A little bit about me. My name's Kai Pfeiffer. I'm the lead singer and one of two instrumentalists for the Ineffectuals. We're a band from the United States. We just released our latest single, Ghosted, through Soda Records, right? Please check it out. It's an absolute banger. I'm biased, obviously, but I think it's really good. And that's a little bit about me and who I am.
Cool. So let's dive into some questions. As a kid, what were you listening to?
Oh man, maybe I'm a little bit basic, but for me it was the Beatles.
Cool.
Beatles Rubber Soul. That's the first album I remember owning, and it's really because of my parents, right, who were of that age that they were, listening to that stuff in the 60s. And then I got into bands like, Bad Religion, if you're a punk fan. I got really into Bad Religion. Stranger Than Fiction came out around the time that I got into them. And then other music that I was listening to, a lot of progressive rock and like kind of progressive metal. I mean, I think everybody knows Tool. They're like an art metal band that are still kicking and hopefully going to put something out in less than 12 years. They're known for taking a really long time. And then I also like a lot of kind of new wave melodic stuff. They Might Be Giants fan. It's kind of like nerd rock. Love those guys. You name it, I probably listened to. As a kid, those were kind of the major influences on me.
Cool. So who actually got you into listening to music? Was it your parents or a sibling, or was it a journey of self-discovery?
Yeah, I mean, we were talking a little bit before you hit the go live button there, and it's just like, it's amazing that some people, they just have this desire or this yearning to seek music out. It's almost like there's a spot in your brain that is dedicated to, it just takes up that space, and you need to fill that space with music, and you're just drawn to it. And, songcraft and writing excites you, whether it be being a fan or creating your own. And to answer your question, it's like, yeah, it's literally my mom. My dad likes music too, but not to the extent that my mom does, right? And then, of course, my sister, and she listened to a lot of grunge, a lot of what was going on was like Alice in Chains, Jar of Flies, and of course Nirvana, and then...
Oh, looks like we've lost Kai. Bear with us, guys. Bear with us. We're getting back. So, if you've got any questions, please. Oh, we're back. We're back. Technology, don't you just love it?
All right, I can't hear you now. Oh my gosh, technology.
Yeah. Bear with us for 1 second. You might have to refresh.
I might leave and come back. Can you hear me okay? Yeah, I can't hear you. Just a second.
So, guys, while Kai is coming back in, uh, please go check out the Ineffectuals. All the links down in the description. They're a brilliant band, absolutely brilliant, brilliant band. And if you've got any questions, please ask away. I see Ozzy and Lisaboo have asked questions there, so I will get to them in a minute. Whilst Kai is coming back in. So yeah, um, yes, Lisa, tech issues can be difficult. Yeah, they can be. Oh, and he's back. So yeah, right. Can you hear me now?
I sure can.
That's sweet, sweet. So apologies for that. Technology can be difficult at times.
I think it was on my end, dude. I don't think it was you.
Yeah, technology. Don't you just love it?
Necessary evil, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it's like you were saying about sort of like discovering who got you actually into music.
Yeah. Yeah. Combination of my mom and my sister. You know, I have a sister that's 2 years older. And like I was saying, she was listening to the heavier stuff. You know, my mom was kind of more the Beatles, the Zombies, that kind of stuff, 60s kind of pop rock stuff.
Yeah,
But my sister definitely got me more into the alternative stuff that was going on and the heavier stuff, you know.
yeah,
So both really, you know.
yeah. Cool,
What
cool.
would we do with our, what they call them, our taste makers, right? The people that
Yeah,
introduce stuff and new music. And, you know, I depend on those people. I'm sure you do too, right? In your line of work, you need those people that are like, oh, Kai would love this. I'm going to send this to him. And I'm always looking for stuff like that. So my sister
cool.
was,
Yeah, cool, cool. Yeah. So, who out of all the bands that you've listened to over the years, who was your main influence to say, I want to do that. I want to create music.
man, I'm going to sound so basic, but it's got to be the Beatles, man. Got to be the Beatles. They did everything and they did it in a short period of time. And they were passionate about writing their. I really, especially, am interested in writing stuff that uh, maybe rocks or is heavier, but that melodic component. I like stuff that's got a good melody. You know, um, you got your Helter Skelter, which is like proto metal. It's proto metal. It's like one of the first metal tunes that came out in, what was it, 68? You know,
Something like that. Yeah,
so big fan of them. And then through them, of course, everybody that came out around those same times got really into the Who, Zeppelin, of course, stuff with just a fat beat and heavy guitars, and then I got into, from there it was Sabbath. Sabbath's Paranoid was a big one, you know so all those bands, and they all led to kind of more modern stuff.
cool, cool, cool. Were you in any bands prior to starting the Ineffectuals?
Yes. So I hit this point where, gosh darn it, I was like it was like in my early 30s, and I was like, I consider myself a musician. People ask me, like, what do you do? Like, what, you got your job and you got things that you're interested in. But like, what do you do? Like, and I basically came to the conclusion that, oh, I'm a musician. And they'd be like, oh, well, let me hear what you've done. What have you put out? And I'd be like, oh crap, I haven't put anything out. I haven't released anything. So it was around that time that I got really interested in trying to create sort of a body of work, like some output. And I started saying yes to lots of things, because for a while I was like protective about it, which, doesn't do anybody any good, Elle. Like, if you make stuff and you write music and nobody hears it, like, you can do it just for yourself. And I think that's all fine and good. But if you're driven and you want people to listen to it, you got to put it out. So to answer your question, one of the things I said yes to was a progressive rock band. called Philhelmon, right? Philhelmon. And what I did was I got on this virtual band website. It's called Virtual Band or vband.de. It's like a Denmark website. And I met a guy on there from Holland, from the Netherlands. And he had just sort of all of these musical ideas. And I loving a lot of kind of progressive rock, which is kind of the antithesis of punk in a lot of ways. But I was really into a lot of progressive rock, Pink Floyd, yes, and then some of the heavier stuff too. You could say Tool falls into that arena a little bit too. But he had all these musical ideas and he was looking for a singer, right? And so he sent a couple things my way and I added some lyrics and I added the vocals and I would write that aspect of it. And he was like, well, I want to put out some albums, right? And so we've put out 3 records, full. I mean, and they are dense. They're like, 70, 80 minutes long, and it's, he primarily wrote a lot of the music, especially to start with. And then I would write, the melodies or the lyrics and then arrange all the vocal harmonies and stuff like that, which is something that I've always been interested in. So that's Philhelmon, progressive rock. We just put out our 3rd album. It's called, so we did Perpetual Immobile a few years back. That's one of them. And then the most recent one is called Into the Mists of Time, right? So the first album we put out was called Enjoy It While It Lasts. So that's out there in the world on streaming services to listen to. Still talk to him regularly, still working on stuff. In fact, I'm collaborating with a gal that I play out with, locally. We're writing something for a friend of his in Holland right now, right? So, you make these connections and you just find yourself with all these cool opportunities, right? So that's one of the things that I got involved in. For a while, I was a drummer, in like a shitty hipster band. Because you need your talent, as a musician. So you can sit in your bedroom and you can play, but you need to go out into the world and play for people. So for a while I was in that band, and then I joined a better band called Alex Aerosmith and his Pugs, right? And I was the drummer in that band, and got to do some singing and played a lot of saxophone and did a lot of recording in that realm. So that was a live band, and then a lot of individual projects that so another one was Red Hot Medusa was another one that I was in, and that's actually a group I was in with my sister. So we wrote and recorded all of those songs, and that exists out, on the internet. And then there's all of the stuff that I do just by myself under my own name. There's not a lot of it out. Usually I'm part of a group, which seems to be kind of where I thrive because I love the collaborative process. So lots of bands, and they take various forms, whether it's live, people that I know in real life, or people that I've never met, like Philhelmon. Although Hank is his name, he did come to visit, and we did do a bunch of work while he was out here in the United States. So I have met.
Cool. So what have you been up to, especially in the last 12 months with the Ineffectuals?
We are working on our 3rd album. So, the first album was, the guy that I met, and this is interesting, right? Because I don't know his name. My collaborator in the Ineffectuals, he's kind of like off grid. He doesn't say who he is. He's not, as far as I can, I think he's on social media, but I don't know who he is. So like he might see this, and I have no idea. And I just know him as like a username on Reddit and on Discord, which is where we work, right? So me and this guy, we've been working on our 3rd album in the last 12 months, right? Before we did one the year before, and then the year before. And it's definitely got a little bit more of a metal proggy bent than our first two records. First one, you know, Elle, it's hard for musicians to categorize their stuff. We hate doing it. Hey man, I'm a whole person. I'm an artist. But for yeah, you laugh because you probably had this conversation a bunch of times.
Yeah.
But in order for people to find your stuff, you kind of have to put a label on it, you know. So that first album was more kind of, there's like kind of more old timey rock, straight up rock. There's some glammy elements to it. The second album was very like punk, grunge with some metal leanings. And then this one, it's so far, we're in the process of doing it still. It's really sounding almost like proggy metal a little bit, because there's some strange time signature things going on. And I'm really, that's what I've been working on. And we just put out, our single, which goes, with that one, it's out now. Please go listen to it, everybody. We wanted to write a song that had a slightly more pop-oriented chord progression, right? But we dressed it up in kind of more of a rock presentation. So, and then, the song is about, it's about how those above us, like in offices above us, like that we elect or that find their way into those offices that govern us, they don't follow through on what they say they're going to do. They'll promise you the moon, but when it comes time to deliver, and they said they would do all of these wonderful things for you, once they're in that position of power, they don't deliver. So that's out now, and that's kind of the thing that we're really excited about right this second. That and the new album that's coming.
Cool. So, talking about the new album that you're working on now, how many tracks have you got planned to go on the album?
Yeah. It'll probably be 10. Between the two of us, we've got a lot of music coming out of our ears. And it's all about taking it and saying, well, what works for this? The Ineffectuals, what makes the most sense thematically. I find that the Ineffectuals, for whatever reason, so the band name Ineffectual, the Ineffectuals, it literally means if you're ineffectual, you're not producing anything, or what you're trying to do doesn't bring forth the desired effect. The thing that you're trying to do, like, you don't get what you're trying, right? It also is kind of like lacking the ability or qualities to cope with a role or a situation. And I like this idea for the band name specifically. One was sort of a mid-fi punk metal ethos, right? It's like you're ineffective. It's like, to me, it has a hint of there being little to no effort, or almost as if you've grown apathetic. So that informs the songs that we write and that wind up being part of the project. He writes lyrics, I write lyrics. To this point, he has been primarily responsible for kind of the music, which I'm cool with, because I have other avenues that I can write music and it sounds different. So right now, the Ineffectuals is kind of his music, some of his lyrics, some of my lyrics. Both of us play on it, and record it. He's not a singer, so I do singing. He's not a drummer, so I do the drumming. He's a great guitarist, better than me, but I do play some guitar and some bass and that kind of thing. So right now we've got basically 10 songs, that kind of follow that narrow ethos of what we think the Ineffectuals is. But right, Elle, I mean, it can change. We might change our minds if something comes up that we're really passionate about and that we really like. We'll do that.
Yeah.
The songs, they're all mapped out, right? And just to give people an idea of how we work, maybe they don't care. but I don't know where he lives. I just log into my Discord server and he's got song ideas. He's like, well, here's the guitar part. It's a guide. It's 140 BPM. Write some lyrics, write a melody, do the arranging. I would say that's a big part of my role is kind of the arrangement, although of course he does that stuff too. He's got a lot of ideas. But all of the songs have a kind of a guide guitar, maybe a melody line that he played in to give me an idea of what he thinks the melody should be, although sometimes I deviate from it. Not necessarily because I think what I'm doing is better, but we all have limitations or things that we do well, and so that might be why I change it. So all of those are mapped out and they're sitting in my studio, and I just need to go in and sort of develop them, give them to him so that he can, it's like a conversation back and forth, so that he can add something to it or say, well, what if we did this, what if we did that? So 10 tracks, that's the short version now.
Cool. We've got a couple of questions from the viewers here. The first one is from Aussie Ann 2025. She asks, do you plan to tour overseas, and if so, which countries would you love to visit the most?
Oh yeah, I mean, I've done, Aussie, and thanks for your question. I've done some sort of national touring. I mean, I was in a band for a while that we played. I didn't mention them earlier, but I was in this band that we played, kind of a lot of fairs, and we opened for like, the Nitty Gritty Dirt Band, the band from the '60s. But I've never done an international tour. It's not something I've ever done. I would love to do that. It'd be extremely cool to go to Australia. Although you probably heard, Anne, we're sometimes in the United States, we're a little squeamish when it comes to the critters, and I know you guys have got some scary creatures live over there. No, I jest. I would totally love to go to Australia. I would totally love to go to Europe, any place. But there are no plans currently to tour, or frankly, to even play live in this configuration, because again, I haven't met the guy that I collaborate with. I could probably put a band together and play out pretty easily with the musicians that I know. I could call this fella and be like, hey, do you want to meet? But I get the distinct impression that he doesn't want to meet anybody or go anywhere. It's a little bit of a mystery that way,
Yeah.
But your question.
Yeah, thank you, Ozzy, for that. Much appreciated. So, the next question is from my head moderator, Lisaboo,
Okay.
who's in Canada. She asks, what is your process for writing your songs?
Hi, Lisa. Yeah, Canadian putting up with this, man. I just say that. We are not good neighbors right now, Lisa, and I apologize for everything that's going on here. It's hard for me not to get political, because what a shit show it is here right now. That's all I can say. You shouldn't treat your neighbors that have treated you well for years and years the way we're treating you guys in Mexico. That's my thoughts on that. So as far as the songwriting process, I mean, it can go a myriad of ways. I find that chord progressions and melodies come very easily to me. That's always easier. It's a little bit more, I like writing lyrics, but it's a little bit more like, it's almost like writing an essay which kind of makes it not sound very fun, but it's actually very fun. You basically, you decide what you want to say, and you decide the best way to say it. It's almost like whittling away. The music just comes, the melodies just come. But when it comes to what the song is about, and what the song is about often informs the music, right? Because, people that just write music and then the words, it's not quite as common for a lot of songwriters to do that. Usually they let the I mean, I'm generalizing here. This is just what I've heard. You could totally probably name 100 people that would prove me wrong on this, but you you want to write music that serves what you're trying to say, right? It's almost like you're whittling a piece of wood and you're just cutting away the pieces, and hopefully it takes some kind of form. You know, I'm not like Paul McCartney, and I don't dream amazing songs like Yesterday. You know, I don't just like wake up and have them in my head. It's something that I work on. I find that sometimes I'll just sit down with a guitar, you know, and come up with something on the spot. Sometimes it's more curated, right? And you think to yourself, well, I want to write a song like that, you know, or this. And then, of course, it doesn't sound like that thing that you're trying to emulate because it's you and you have your own limitations, you know. For the Ineffectual specifically, how it kind of works and how it started is, you know, this fellow that I work with on the internet, he'll come to me with a bunch of songs, and then I get to listen to it and try to come up with words that match it. Sometimes he'll call it something, and I'll be like, huh, what does that mean to me? And then I'll create a dialogue in my head and um, write the words, right? And it's all dependent on the melody. You know, some singers can, you know, do the noodling thing where they go, ooh, you know, all the noodles and that kind of thing. Like, I'm not that guy. I'm not that guy. I'm the guy that can kind of belt and hold a note for a long time and create harmonies and that kind of stuff. So you work around your what you like, and you work around your limitations, and then hopefully you have something. And that's how the Ineffectuals works. He presents music and I add to it. And that's how it's been so far in this band. So thanks for your question.
Yeah, thank you, Lisa, for that. Lisa also, bear with us. Ozzy has said, don't mind if you do get over to Australia, don't mind the critters. Um, and Lisa also says it's not your fault being like with her being in Canada, and she says still love my American family and friends and music community. So
yeah. There's at least 50% of us that are so ashamed and embarrassed by the whole thing. Yeah. So thank you for that. Yeah.
So I know you've been writing some new material for the up and coming album. Or have you sort of like been sort of like writing any material for like another album for the Ineffectuals, or are you writing stuff material for other projects?
I have a lot of projects. You know, I'm very, very lucky to know a lot of people that kind of kick me in the ass and motivate me to put music out. I collaborate with a really talented singer. Her name's Maddie Hurst. And I play out live with her all the time, right? We're in the process of writing an album. It's like probably half done. You know, it's kind of a more of a straight ahead rock with a little bit of pop, and I mean pop in the sense of, you know, your classic rock Beatles kind of thing, not pop as in like, you know, I don't know, Beyonce or whatever, who's very talented. Don't get me wrong, but that's not what I'm writing with Maddie. So that's in process. We hope to have that written and recorded by the end of the year. And then I've got a bunch of solo material, stuff that I've written that I want to release with just my name on it, Kai Pfeiffer, you know. And that, I mean, that's a backlog. I've got a lot of stuff. It's like, I'm going to pull a George Harrison and put out All Things Must Pass, you know, like 3 discs. I just need to get my shit together and do it. But it's so much easier to blow that off when you have a partner or somebody that you're working with that is excited about what you're doing with them. So that stuff I tend to kind of shove off, you know. Phil Hellman, my progressive rock band. We've got a couple things in the works. You know, I don't know about a fourth album, but we've got a lot of like kind of one-off things that we're doing together. You know, that's the gentleman that I work with in Holland. His name is Hank Bull. So lots of stuff in the works, you know, aside from our third album with the Ineffectuals, right, which is another thing that I'm focused on. So.
Cool. So, have you sort of like got any plans on releasing merchandise for the Ineffectuals?
Merch. Yeah, I mean, I actually have gone so far as I've created some T-shirt designs, and you know, I dabble in that sort of graphic design area. I have no education in it. You know, people could probably look at it from a scholastic perspective and be like, ugh. But I've got some ideas, you know, to put that stuff on some T-shirts, and you know, I don't know what people really want. I think most people want merch that they can wear, like T-shirts and maybe a hat, and you know. But then there's also that cynical part of me that's like, do I really need to put my logo on some shitty plastic thing and have it end up in the ocean? Like,
yeah,
people want that stuff, you know. I should probably get my butt going and at the very least work on the T-shirts, you know. But
yeah,
that is on the plan. T-shirts at the very least, maybe something else if it's of interest and not like super wasteful.
Yeah, cool. So, I know a couple of people in the chat and some of my other subscribers will say, "El, you didn't ask this question. If you don't ask this question, I'm going to lynch you."
Rats.
Yeah. So, have you got any plans on putting your music, whether it be the Ineffectuals or other projects that you're involved with, onto vinyl?
I would love to have something on vinyl. I mean, that's cool, right? You know, the vinyl revival is a thing. We have chatted, my partner and I, you know, for the Ineffectuals, about sort of putting together maybe, I don't know, a curated greatest hits and putting it out on vinyl, you know. Yeah, we've had a very real conversation. I think really what it comes down to is the cost effectiveness of it, right? I would love to have it on my wall, you know. But if folks are interested in buying that kind of stuff from us, you know, just let it be known, you know, because I think people know just the overhead for vinyl is pretty high, right? It's not like you put it out on a streaming service, which, you know, just isn't as fun. I'm a fan of physical releases, Al. You know, I like album art. I like CDs, being able to open the booklet and, you know, read about who did what and look at the lyrics and analyze. That's kind of how I grew up. I suspect a lot of your viewers are the same way. And vinyl obviously works great from a graphic design perspective. Vinyl works really well for certain images, things that you can be more detailed. I mean, if you think about it right now, if you create album art, you have to be able to discern what it is on this tiny little icon on, you know, Spotify or whatever it is, you know. So that really informs how you come up with the imagery for the music that you're creating. Go back to, you know, the 60s and 70s, you got like Santana's Abraxas. I don't know if you know that record. It's got this elaborate, intricate art. It would be cool to do something along those lines. Just to feature, I mean, besides the fact of having your music on vinyl, which would be awesome, but to be able to do something a little more intricate from an art perspective too.
Yeah. I grew up with like listening to vinyl, and every time I put the record onto the turntable, I'm there with the cover art and
Yeah.
with all the lyrics and who like you said, who did what, and
Yeah.
you can actually get lost in reading and looking at the artwork or in of the of the artwork and everything.
What's the last record you did that with? Just curious.
Halloween.
See it.
Keeper of the Seven Keys.
Okay. Awesome. What else? Right? It's the smell. The smell of, they say the olfactory nerve, like is very your memory center in your brain. So in that way, taking a vinyl record out, smelling the printed art and smelling the vinyl it's like a shortcut to a place, where you can escape. And I think that's a key component of having vinyl. Just that piece too,
Yeah, vinyl's got like it's got a lot of quality to it.
Yeah, vinyl.
Yeah. So, with the Ineffectuals, I know we discussed a little bit earlier on about touring overseas. But is there any plans on doing any sort of like, whether it be a local tour or a few local gigs?
I would like to play some of the songs, because I've got a full band that I play out with locally, and they're great players. Maddie, who I'm writing an album with, like, she's in the band. She plays really great bass guitar. She plays really well. And then, we got an amazing drummer. Oh, it's the drummer for Steppenwolf, Ron Hurst. He is the drummer that's for Dad. Right. So he plays in the band. And then Andy's the other fella. He puts out his music too. But, if I really wanted to put them to task and play out, something that I kind of fantasize about doing is doing like a release party where the band learns all the material and just plays it, but it'd be interesting to do that. But the guy that I'm doing the project with, like, he wouldn't be involved, which is a shame, but I don't begrudge him either. He is who he is and wants to do what he does. So, I mean, to answer your question, like, am I going to play some of this stuff live in some capacity? Well, oh yeah. I already play some of the songs by myself, on the occasional gig where it's just me by myself on a guitar, so this stuff, there will be opportunity to see it. My YouTube channel, I put a lot of live video on my YouTube channel. So there will be opportunity to see this stuff live. And there should be some stuff already there from past records. So
Cool. So, where can people find you on social media?
Oh my goodness. So I think that the first place you would want to look is kaypfeiffer.com. KYFIFER.com. That is like my hub. We were talking a little bit earlier, Elle, about how I'm an artist and I do all of these things and this encompasses all I do. But, for me, that is the hub. That is where there's there's a newsletter you can sign up for if you want. It's free. I only send out one email, probably a quarter. Right. So you won't get inundated, and it's just basically announces new releases and that kind of stuff. So if you're interested, that's a great way to do it. KayPfeiffer.com also has all my live gigs. They're all, my gig calendar is there and just whatever I'm working on. Along with that, I'm really into Instagram. Right. Soda Records has been super encouraging regarding the Ineffectuals, and they say I need to relabel all my stuff as the Ineffectuals, which I understand. But right now my Instagram is just Kai Pfeiffer at Instagram. Lots of live videos there, and if you want to chat, you can send me an instant message, and I'm happy to respond and talk. So those are probably the two main places that you'll want to look for us. We've also got the Facebook. I've got a Facebook band page, and we're on the streaming services, right? Which those are turning more into social media platforms. I know Spotify wants you to have like a community and build it there, which is, fine. I don't know about you, Al, but I only have so much bandwidth to be involved in social media. The ones that I'm involved in are Instagram and then my website primarily. So those are the.
I know what you mean about you can only do so much with social media. I'm on the main ones myself, like Facebook, Instagram, Twitter.
Yeah.
I still call it Twitter.
Nobody calls it X.
Yeah, sounds like a naughty site, to be honest.
I know.
Yeah.
YouTube's the other one that I'm on.
Yeah.
I do more live streams, but I post a lot of content on YouTube as well. Obviously, that's probably your main website, right? Is here on YouTube.
Yeah, it's mainly YouTube and my website as well, projectmetalmusic.com, WordPress.com. So yeah, it's between the website and YouTube. It's primarily those two.
Very cool. Yeah, you have to specialize, Al. I mean, you just can't do all of them. You can't do all of them. You wouldn't have any time.
Yeah,
You wouldn't put it out.
Yeah. I do. Like I said, I do primarily the website, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and X. So those are the main five areas that I'm concentrating on.
Right on. Well, that's more than I'm trading on. So hats off to you, sir, for doing that much.
Yeah. So Kai. Guys in the chat, if you got any more questions, please ask away.
Lay him on me. Got him.
Yeah. So we're going to be starting wrapping things up in about 5-10 minutes or so.
Cool.
So any advice for people who want to become a musician, whether it be for themselves or wanting to sort of like get to the point where to play live?
I have a lot of advice, but the main things are, and obviously this is just my experience, but the first thing I would say is don't let fear or not being perfect keep you from playing, right? So if you sit on things and you're like, well, I'm not good enough yet. Well, I can't do it yet. I can't put this out yet. You're really doing yourself a disservice. And frankly, you're doing music appreciators a disservice. I think it is known that people don't necessarily want or require perfection. There is a niche out there for a group of people that are into what you were doing. That's the hard part, because you're always going to have somebody that, maybe shits on you a little bit, right? And maybe they're not into what you're doing, or worse, they're apathetic, right? They don't care. The first advice that I have is, if you like music and you want to make music, just start doing it, because opportunities come and improvement and development comes when you're doing it. Like, I'm actually pretty passionate about that. When I started playing out, I started meeting people and I started finding more opportunities, and hopefully I've gotten better, than 10 years ago or whatever. But a lot of people I know, they haven't just tried to do it. And how I say try to do it is go to open mic nights, right? That's a thing here in the United States. I'm sure you guys have it over there too, where you take your guitar and, gosh darn it, learn a song that you like, and maybe you'll find people that like that song. you know, and you'll meet like-minded people. Go and just try to write songs. You know, the Beatles, the first song they ever wrote was pretty crappy. You know, it's a hurdle. It's something that you have to push your way through. And if you never do it from start to end, if you never write a song from start to end, you'll never get to this point. So each time you do it, you're practicing all the aspects of songwriting. So that's the first thing that I would say is just get out there, just do it if you want to do it. The other thing I would say is there's this illusion online that people are just amazing at it, and uh, they're just born with it, or like it's an innate quality. I think this is true sometimes. Some people come out of the womb and they're able to sing beautifully. Some people have to work on it. Everybody has an aptitude, and the distance between singing horribly and nobody wanting to listen to you could be shorter than you think. And there's somebody out there for everybody. Like, people love Bob Dylan. They don't listen to him necessarily because of his singing, but because of his words and his songs. And another example I give is George Harrison, right? The guitarist for the Beatles. Right? Started out sounding like he was falling down the damn stairs when he was playing the guitar. And it wasn't until, he did some great stuff, don't even get me wrong, but he didn't really come into his own as a real guitarist for like 10 years. Now, when you think of some of the most influential guitarists, he's not fast, but what he does really well. He's very nuanced and very melodic. And then not just that, but he became an amazing songwriter, like as good as Lennon and McCartney, by practicing and doing it and developing it. But it took him 10 years. It might not take you 10 years. It might take you longer. It might take you less time. So, my advice to you is, and we run into this in the United States here, it seems like, if you're not instantly amazing, you don't deserve to create. And I think that's absolute bullshit. I think that's the Simon Cowells and American Idols talking. It's a lot of work. You gotta work on it. You gotta practice. You gotta, and anybody who's online and putting out, these videos where they're shredding, they put the time in and they worked on it. And so if you want to do it, don't wait until you're perfect. By doing it, you're going to be practicing, and you're going to be able to do something that reaches and appeals to somebody. That's my monologue.
Yeah, sound advice there. Yeah, practice makes perfect. Practice makes perfect, and getting out there, doing it.
That's part of practice.
Yeah,
you got to practice talking about music, and you got to practice making friends. You got to practice going out and not, and connecting with people. Like, that's something you can practice too. So getting out there and doing it, that's what you got to do.
Yeah, true. Sound advice there, and yeah, no truer words there. So we're going to be starting to wrap things up. So have you got any final words?
Well, I would just say, if you could follow me on Instagram and check out my website and join my mailing list. If any of this appeals to you, check me out on streaming services. The Ineffectuals, our new single, Ghosted, is out. We're really happy with it. We feel like it rocks and is melodic and has a lot of lift and has something to say. And besides that, Elle, I'm just super grateful, to be on your channel, Project Metal Music. I really appreciate your time and the questions too from people watching.
Yeah, my pleasure, and thank you so much for coming on. It's been absolutely brilliant talking to you. So thank you so much.
Very kind of you. Thank you so much, Elle. Take care.
Yeah. So guys, if you haven't checked them out already, go check out the Ineffectuals, and they are absolutely brilliant. So yeah, all the links are down in the description, and the mods have been sharing out the links. So please check them out. They are a brilliant band, and yeah. And Kai, thank you so much for coming on. It's been a total pleasure.
Awesome. Thanks, everybody.
Yeah. So until next time, guys, we'll catch you all later.